everybody, welcome back to the Coffee Milk Hour. I am Puffy. I am joined here, as always, by,
Jerry.
yeah, that's your name.
That's still my name.
Gerald?
No. No.
Can it be with Jordan and Gerald? Welcome to the Coffee Milk Hour, a 1-hour political discussion where we talk about the ups and downs of the current Republican
Did you say
presidency.
political discussion?
No, it's not a political discussion.
I heard political discussion.
It's not a political discussion.
I am ready to go.
It was a joke. I was joking. Hey, everybody. Happy day of the week.
Yes. Absolutely.
How is it? I don't know what day it is or what day this is going up, I guess.
Might go up on Friday. Might go up next Tuesday. Might go up whenever we want it to go up.
But it's going to go out the week of the 31st, I guess we could say.
We put it up last week, and people are still listening to last week's episode now, so I don't know why we need to rush this.
It's about consistency.
I would like to thank the people who gave us positive feedback on our return episode last week. That was nice.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's good to be back. It's good to know that people were actually out there wanting to hear from us, which is nice.
Or that you didn't want to hear from us, but you got bored and listened to us anyway, and what you heard, and you're like, huh.
You know what? Filling the emptiness is still better than nothing.
Well, you're assuming that other people's lives are like
no,
ours.
Like I meant like boredom to the point where you just need to fill it with something. I'm glad to be that something, I guess.
Yes, I'm also glad to be the something. Last week we did a poll.
We did.
We did a poll last week, and we asked everyone to weigh in on microtransactions in games,
which we talked about,
which we're going to update you on. So the final standing of that poll seems to be that 41 of you thought that microtransactions were a negative influence on gaming, while a minuscule 3 of you,
4, you got to count me,
and Jordan,
yes.
None of these people are credible at all.
What?
Thought that they had a positive influence.
Well, no, see, positive influence is unfair because I don't think it's a positive influence. I think it's a necessary evil, but that's not important. Look,
anyway,
I
thought we had some news on.
Yes, we have a recap of what's going on, both around the country and around our little nick of the woods here in Rhode Island.
Last week,
yes, last week we discussed microtransactions in video games.
In particular, EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Interesting turn of events.
Yeah, I heard that you had some news on that.
Yes, just this morning, actually. They announced, the CFO of EA, Blake Jorgensen, announced that microtransactions will be returning to EA Battlefront 2. Now, just to give you guys the information here. EA Battlefront 2, for Star Wars Battlefront 2, sold 9 million copies in its first year. Which was 1 million less than they projected. That said, there are still 1 to 3 million more units expected to sell by the end of the fiscal year of 2018, which for EA is March 31st. So they have time, but their overall projection is going to be under what they expected to. So in response to this, Blake Jorgensen came out and said, yeah, we're going to bring microtransactions back. We want to try to balance the profit loss from, the sales we lost. And he attributed those lost sales, Jerry, to the controversial loot boxes in Battlefront 2.
You mean the ones that people had to pay for?
Yes. The ones that the people didn't buy the game because of.
You mean the microtransactions?
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So they didn't reach their target sales because players were upset about the way microtransactions worked in the game. So to make up for the loss, they're going to bring back the very same microtransactions that cost them those sales?
It's the best goddamn business plan I've ever heard in my life. Blake Jorgensen is a genius. He is a very stable genius.
These multi-billion-dollar companies and make such stupid decisions.
It's the dumbest thing ever, dude.
What happened to providing a quality product for the people that are buying it?
I don't know, man.
What happened to that?
It's a bad look on EA. It's a bad look for Battlefront 2. Their stock is going to continue to drop because it dropped down 42% or something when this went down. It's obviously been back on the climb, but they just want to lose money, I guess. So yeah, that's a fun little bit of information I got this morning.
Do you think that the super blue blood moon affected his decision? Do you think that's what happened?
I don't think it has any effects on people. That would be neat though if it did, but. The super blue blood moon was available to view in the sky overnight earlier this week, and it was pretty phenomenal. I don't know if you caught it, Jerry. If you didn't, there's a ton of videos on CNN. The New York Times has one, the Washington Post. It was awesome. So, for those of you who don't know, the super blue blood moon is a combination of a blood moon, which is when rays of light peer around the edge of the Earth and reflect off the moon, giving it its copper red color. And a blue moon is when a second full moon in a month occurs that is at the, I don't know what the word is. It's like at the closest point in its rotation to the Earth, and it makes it about 14% larger and brighter. So both of these things happened on the same night earlier this week for the first time in 152 years. And it was really incredible to see. If you didn't get a chance to see it, because I think for us it was like 5 a.m. I was out there looking at it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit bummed out. Well, it says, so people in Australia, Asia, and parts of Russia were treated to a lunar triple whammy during the moonrise on January 31st. There was also a full lunar eclipse.
Yes, which we didn't see.
And ours was 5:51 Eastern. And we missed that one.
Yeah, it was very, very early. And you couldn't really see it anyway, I guess.
Yeah.
But the next one America will be able to view as far as lunar eclipse goes is January 2019, I think they're saying.
Oh, that's not that far at all.
Yeah, it's like a year.
We might still be alive for that.
Yeah, maybe.
That's great.
We'll see what happens.
Excellent.
So yeah, definitely check it out. There's a bunch of videos out there. It was really, really cool.
Well, we're before we get to our main current event, which is the big game at the end of this week, a couple of small news items. Facebook earlier this week decided they were going to ban all cryptocurrency ads on their site, citing the fact that they want to be able to reduce the number of scams. So they're just getting rid of all the ads. And I think that's really interesting. Not that like I care one way or the other about cryptocurrencies, but I find like a lot of car ads annoying and maybe a little bit scammy. Like
Cars for Kids is still on Facebook.
Worth, that much money. Hondas are pretty reliable. What cars are pretty good. Maybe cars are a bad category, but
that's outstanding, man.
If cryptocurrencies are going to be treated like any other company, or any other market, then isn't it a little bit weird to ban all ads, but to try to get rid of scams? I feel like we see a lot of scam ads on Facebook.
So I'm still researching cryptocurrency in itself, myself, but like, isn't the value of the currency based on like solely the people's belief in the value?
You mean like every other currency?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's no different, but like that's the way they're projecting the argument. So like to me, if cryptocurrency is something that could eventually start pushing out like actual currencies that are in play now, it would seem really interesting if Facebook was doing that, maybe, motivated by donation from somebody else.
So here, I would view cryptocurrency in its current state. Think of it as a stock. Think of like whatever currency you're buying, you're investing in a stock that can fluctuate in value. Okay, so we see ads for different companies, different stock shareholders, and then the big companies like Edward Jones and Charles Schwab. We see those. So is it the digital nature that prevents it? I mean, Facebook, I don't think is positively or negatively affected by like Bitcoin.
No, my suggestion was more if I'm Mark Zuckerberg and somebody in a suit is paying me a lot of money to keep those ads off.
Someone like people who really believe in the US dollar, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe people who... you see what I'm getting at here?
Next week on the Coffee Milk Hour, the conspiracy of the US government and Facebook to thwart all cryptocurrencies from entering the real world.
The unfortunate thing is I don't think that's that far of a stretch.
I mean, it could happen.
But speaking of Facebook, I have a bone to pick with those sons of bitches because look, I mean,
it's not just Facebook.
I'll admit it, man. I like Facebook Messenger, right? It's nifty. It's good to use on my phone. But when I have to scroll through like 4 or 5 ads just to get to somebody that I want to talk to, it's starting to get a little aggravating.
Wait, what are you talking about?
So like
really? Because I don't have any ads on Messenger.
So I have ads that pop up on Messenger. Like if I start scrolling through my Messenger app, there will be...
I'm scrolling right now. I'm just checking this
You'll
out.
see an ad in between your conversations, dude. Look at that. See? Shaw's Supermarket.
Oh, Shaw's Supermarket.
Yeah. It's just like right in the middle of my conversations. And it made me realize that like... There are more and more ads popping up on social media videos.
I don't do enough online shopping to be targeted, apparently. I really want to see an ad. Newegg, maybe?
Are you really not getting an ad on your phone at all?
No.
Because it's happening. It's not just me. This is a new thing.
Oh, no, I don't doubt it. Maybe I'm like a version... Whoa, was that Chinese? Yup. Weird.
There's ads everywhere, Jerry.
There are ads everywhere.
Everywhere.
And actually, I meant to do a little bit of checking, and maybe by the end of the show I will, but I'm wondering why there's more ads. So the ones that piss me off the most are the in the middle of your video ad. Like, you've watched 30 seconds of your ad. Sorry. You've watched 30 seconds of the video. And you're going through and like, oh man, that looks like a pretty nice recipe. And it's like, and then you have to bake it at video will continue after this ad. And then the stupid ad comes up and it's like, honestly, dude, I stop watching the video.
Yeah, I can't blame you.
Like every single time I don't want to deal with this ad. It's like, I don't care. You can't skip. It's not like 3 seconds and skip. It's like, no, you're going to watch 15 seconds. It's like, fuck you. This isn't TV.
Right.
I'm not watching TV. I'm not paying. I pay for TV. Maybe there should be no ads on TV.
That's
a different topic. Anyway, but I stopped watching the video, and I feel like this has only happened the last couple of months. I'll take the ad at the beginning that you can skip, or if you want to throw in at the end, fine. But in the middle of the video, I kind of feel like the people posting the videos should be upset because the messages they're trying to get across or whatever, people stop watching halfway through, and this creates misinformation because then I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I saw this video. It was about the new 2018 Chevy Silverado. I got halfway through, but like, I don't really know what the rest of the truck is all about. So it's going to have rocket boosters, I think.
What the fuck? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a stretch, don't you think?
No, because I didn't see the end of the video. So it's up to me to decide what comes in the second half of the video. So the 2019 Chevy Colorados are going to have rocket boosters. They're going to come in chameleon paint. They're going to have tires that can like morph from 15-inch to 18-inch without changing the tire.
Yo, what? I would buy that truck.
It's like you're just going down the road, you hit the button, you go from 15 to 18s off-roading.
Could I have the wheels go in and jet ski things come out? Is that...
That's an optional feature that you have to purchase in the level 2 package, but it is there.
There's a level 2 package.
There is a level 2
Of how many levels?
Well, I don't know because I didn't watch past the ad. So I don't know how many levels there are. I just know that everything I'm saying is true because the ad came in and I'm allowed to do this.
I'm less about the misinformation thing. I'm more about the fact that like these people are okay with it. Like now this on Facebook who let their videos get an ad in the middle of it, it's embedded in the video because the ad is paying for the views, monetization. It's just the nature of the industry when it comes to internet videos. It's like its unique version of the way the TV does it with ad sponsorships, but it's not good, and it's everywhere. The big thing for me is that, like, us as a small-time podcast, we have to boost our advertisements just to compete with suggested posts of other consumers. You know what I mean? Like, we can get knocked out of our area, our little, part of New England, simply because some chain store in Alaska paid $5 more to reach our region.
Right.
It's just annoying.
And we all know Alaskans are stupid.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just some small state Rhode Island pride, going after some of the bigger states.
Alaska's like the bully or the kid who gets bullied. We forget it's there half the time.
Alaska
we left it with Sarah Palin.
Yep. There we go. Okay. So point made. Anyway.
So we're gonna let's.
That was an overgeneralization, and we'll get into that later.
Last quick thing. It is Super Bowl weekend coming up. The teams are set. The players are ready. Except for maybe Gronk. I'm going to watch. I'm going to go to a Super Bowl party.
Because you know what? The NFL is rigged. The Patriots are there every single year. They want the Boston market to watch. The Patriots are only there for the ratings. We all know that the Jaguars should have won the game last week. The NFL is rigged. We've all seen the episodes with the referees cheering with the Patriots and everything.
Spoken like a true Cowboys fan.
Huh?
Spoken like a true Cowboys fan.
I'm rooting for the Eagles. They're in my division. Oh, I hate them.
Yeah, same,
and
man.
I'm still going for the Eagles.
# fly Eagles fly, but I don't think it's rigged. I just think Tom Brady's Tom Brady.
I don't actually think it's rigged either, and the ref videos are absurd. And
the ref videos are so great, dude. Ultimate. You want to troll a Pats fan? Just show them some of the ref videos or like the GIFs.
Do you think it's because deep down Patriots fans know that like at some level like there might be something
doesn't
seem
right?
They're so bothered by it. They're like, oh, something here is way too familiar. I don't like the way this is making me feel.
It's like those glinting moments of clarity in Stockholm syndrome, where you're like, this isn't healthy, and then you snap right back into it, and you're like, no, we're the greatest team in the NFL ever in the history. Go Patriots!
Did you just?
I just called Patriots fans Stockholm victims. Yes.
Of who?
Of the Patriots.
Who kidnapped the Patriots?
No. The New England Patriots have Stockholm syndrome to the fans.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's a metaphor.
basically, Belichick has kidnapped New England and stashed them in the basement.
I mean, for the
the
past
last 17 years or
yes.
whatever it is?
Essentially, that is what Belichick has done. He can do no wrong. He's Emperor Palpatine, man. You've seen him in this.
Yep.
Look, it's Super Bowl weekend. I'm going to get off on a tangent here.
It is.
It is Super Bowl weekend. I am ready. I have thought about it over the past couple of days. 35-31, Eagles over the Patriots.
35-31. I'm writing this down. 35-31 Eagles.
Yep.
Is
Nick
where
Foles.
Jordan is coming in at.
Nick Foles throws 3 touchdowns. Tom Brady throws 2 touchdowns and a pick.
Okay. I've got Eagles 38-21.
Oh.
Foles throws for 3 touchdowns and 400 yards. Brady throws a pick. 2 touchdowns for Brady.
21's a little low.
38-21 because I don't think last year's Super Bowl was a fluke in that Atlanta put up huge points and ran away with it. And I think Atlanta was uniquely equipped to fail in that Super
That
Bowl.
is fair.
In the way that the Eagles are not. I feel like the Eagles' defense is the better defense. I feel like the Eagles' offense is the better offense.
I would agree.
They have real weapons. They have real receivers. They have real running backs. And even though Nick Foles is not Carson Wentz, Nick Foles is more than half of Carson Wentz.
Yes,
Nick Foles
easily.
might be more than 3/4 Carson Wentz. I think Foles, and we talked about this a little bit last week, is a good quarterback going up against a New England team that, despite their success this year, has some real questions in a lot of positions and a defense that shows up when it wants to.
Yeah, don't forget the first 4 weeks of the season.
Well, and don't forget last week, okay? New England Talk Radio, which again we'll get into in a moment here, was dismissing the Jaguars, and the Jaguars almost won last week.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots almost lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. So I need a little more evidence from that team that they can beat another elite team like the Eagles.
Yes.
Who have been lights out all year.
Yep, even after Wentz went down, they've just been insane.
So to recap, Jordan has the Eagles 35-31. Jerry has the Eagles 38-21. There are no Patriots fans in this room.
It's a good room to be in.
But talking about the Super Bowl and Tom Brady and sports radio, our next topic, and one that we're going to get into a little detail here. Last Thursday morning, so up here in New England, we have 2 main sports stations. We have WEEI FM out of Boston. We've got 98.5 The Sports Hub out of Boston. So last week on Thursday, the WEEI host, 25-year-old Alex Raymer, asked what he thought about the new Tom vs. Time series that's come out. And I guess was this the first episode?
Yeah, so if you're not aware, and I mean, you should be aware, there's a Facebook Watch series called Tom vs. Time. Not a Patriots fan, not even really a Tom Brady fan. It's not a bad show. It's actually pretty cool to kind of get an in-depth look at the greatest quarterback of all time. That aside, yes. So they were on the morning show, and Alex Raymer was with, I think, his co-host, and his co-host asked him, he was like, did you see the show? You know, they were talking about Tom versus Time, and he's like, did you see the show? And he's like, yeah, I thought it was fine. And he was pressed a little bit for a better answer, and he said, quote, I thought the first scene was so staged, where, like, Brady's in the kitchen, his kid's being an annoying little pissant, end quote. That's where the clip ends. I didn't hear it live, so...
Well, and that's the problem.
But that's the statement, is that he called Tom Brady's daughter...
who's 5 years old, Tom Brady's 5-year-old daughter, Vivian, I guess in the show, he called her an annoying little pissant. So the next day, on that same station, Tom Brady has a contract to call in and talk with, it's not Dennis and Callahan anymore. Who is it?
I have no idea who it is.
Anyways, it was the WEI morning show. And, you know, they asked Brady what he thought of Raymer's comments, and he just kind of said, you know, I don't have very much to talk about this morning, guys, and hung up. And is considering ending his interviews with the station.
He said he was reassessing his relationship with the show.
Alex Raymer has been suspended indefinitely from the station. But this brings up a couple of questions, okay? And there are 2 different sides. The first is, you know, should children, even if they're in the spotlight, even if they're Tom Brady's daughters, should they be up for public scrutiny, but second, does the show host have the right to talk about a child 5 years old, who's in a TV show, and does the Boston market enable this kind of talk? Because it's not the first time. USA Today columnist Dan Wilkin wrote an article, and in it he's pretty harsh about the Boston sports market in general. And he says, when you have hosts who mock the death of Roy Halladay, turn a gorilla escaping a zoo into racist jokes, casually muse about hiring somebody to murder NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, call Aaron Andrews a gutless bitch, call Al Horford soft for missing a game due to his wife giving birth, make fun of Jeff Green's heart surgery, and suggest a Red Sox sideline reporter was sleeping with a player, why would anyone who works in that marketplace think there are limits to what you can say and who you can go after? So clearly he thinks that Alex Raymer is just a product of the culture bred in Boston sports radio, and that we shouldn't be surprised about it.
Those are some pretty good references he's got.
And that even Tom Brady shouldn't be surprised by it. So there's some question as to the toxicity in the Boston sports market, or maybe sports markets in general.
It might just bleed over into radio hosts in general at this point.
He goes on to say that it should surprise no one that such an incubator of bombast eventually produced someone like 25-year-old Alex Raymer, who went where nobody in the sports talk business should go, to the children.
Which apparently is taboo. Now here's my thing. Just real quick. I care less about what he said about Brady's kid and more about the repercussions of what have happened since he said it.
What do you mean?
Right? So, like, radio hosts are personalities. They rely solely on their personality to make their living. Because there's no video. You're not watching anybody do this. You are listening to someone talk for several hours a day in between music or in between stats, whatever. Right? People have always been edgy in the radio world. When I was living in Washington, I loved listening to BJ Shea in the morning. Right? KISW, The Rock, great show, very strong personalities. Talked about some pretty crazy shit sometimes. Howard Stern is the pinnacle of what it's like to be an extreme radio personality.
Right.
And he is wild success. Alex Raymer, since saying this about Tom Brady's kid, has been suspended indefinitely. He's received death threats from people in his area. His job is currently in jeopardy. His social status is gone, period. You cannot show your face anywhere in Boston or the greater Boston area without getting heckled by a Pats fan. So more than likely, if you like, the smart choice is I just need to move. Right. Is it too much because of what he said? I understand he went after a kid, but you know what?
Well, he didn't just
so
go
did
after
CNN.
a kid, though, right? So in New England, he went after Tom Brady's daughter, and Tom Brady is idolized and worshipped in New England like some type of hero. So assaulting, quote unquote, assaulting Tom Brady's daughter on a radio show, and I think I'll get into my view a little bit later, but. It's not just, he's talking badly about a kid. He's talking about Tom Brady's kid. How dare he?
Might as well be God. Yeah.
Yeah. Howard Stern actually weighed in, and he said, I've got to stick up for the radio guys because, number one, you're on the air, and it's not like there's a script. But for God's sakes, Tom Brady should know better. If you're going to put your young child on a TV show on the internet, you're putting her out there for comment. And I guess the difference is... So should a level of scrutiny or should a level of criticism be expected by Tom Brady? So obviously you're going to have like Facebook commenters, people like you and me who just like want to like watch the video and be like, God, that kid's annoying. Like, why is she there?
But like, I would never say that because I live in New England and don't want death threats or to potentially die.
But if you had said that in a comment on Facebook, like, angry commenters may have been like, "Oh, come on, man, she's just a kid," No,
I guarantee you, somebody would have told me to kill myself or that they were going to kill me.
Okay, but would you have taken it seriously?
I mean, a little bit.
Okay,
because like it's a Facebook profile, right? So like people can see where I live, even if my profile is private.
Right.
So like I'm going to be careful about things I know what it's like to live around Patriots fans. People get like the general cliche of Patriots fans, and like I'm not bashing Patriots fans. Let me just get this out of the, clarify that, I guess you would say. I have no general issue with Pats fans, but when it comes to Tom Brady, there's a little bit of fanaticism. I don't think that's unreasonable to say.
Oh, it's not.
Right?
There's fanaticism within the New England Patriots organization. Look at the Jimmy Garoppolo situation that unfolded there.
Exactly, right? So, like, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that there is a little bit of fanaticism when it comes to Tom Brady and the Patriots in general. So, am I going to go out there and say anything, like, about Tom Brady's kid? No.
Right.
But if I'm a radio host personality and my job is to, like, get the views and get the listens and, like, make the story and, like, yeah, I might take a jab here or there in a general direction. You know what I mean? And, like, look,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brady did comment. He said, "I certainly hope the guy is not fired." In relation or in respect to Alex Raymer, I would hate for that to happen. I just think any parent is really protective of their kids. I've never stayed away from criticism. I understand criticism is part of sports, but I certainly don't think my children or any children really deserve to be in that. Brady expanded on his thoughts, saying, "I think we all have careers and we all make mistakes. I'd hate for someone to have to change their life over something like that," in regard to Raymer. It's certainly not what he intended. I just felt it was inappropriate. I think any 5-year-old is off limits. I think anyone would feel the same way about their kids. So I think a couple of questions are raised here. I think I agree with Brady. I don't think Raymer should be fired over it. What I will say is that as if you're a radio host, I feel like you probably have a responsibility. Sorry, it's probably not the best idea to be critical of a 5-year-old. But I do think context matters. Now, I don't think it's okay to ever go after someone's kid.
Right.
However, this is the equivalent. Okay, so you've got a show, and it's called Tom vs. Time.
Yep.
Right? And so if the concept of the show is how Tom Brady has overcome, adversity in his career and has been able to play this long and wasn't enabling him to play this long, why does the kid need to be there? Well, number one, why is your child being subjected to essentially a reality TV show? And then if your kid is going to portray a reality TV child, the child of Tom Brady, how is she any different than someone like Honey Boo Boo, who's a child on reality TV, who people make fun of or did make fun of all the time? So you've got like, and Raymer's comment was, I thought the first scene was so staged, where like Brady's in the kitchen, his kid's being an annoying little pissant. If the kid is like crying or wailing, you can be like, yeah, and like it's so staged, and like Brady's kid is there crying, which is a better way to say it. You don't have to call her a name, but like if she's crying, she's crying.
Well, she's not crying. So like I've seen the scene, right? And I think I'm not trying to defend what he said or how he said it, but how I would explain it if I'm trying to understand the context he's putting it in, I would say something like this. I saw the opening scene and it did feel pretty staged. It felt very scripted because Tom's like, he's on the phone with somebody talking about something that sounds business related, and his kid is in the other room off camera, just hollering, like she's being very loud, she's very boisterous, seems to be in a good mood, and like Brady's responding to her, but he's obviously trying to like pay attention to his daughter and pay attention to his business call at the same time. So it feels like a staged moment to show like a level of patience in like Tom is always about business, but he's still paying attention to his kids.
Got it. Okay.
You know what I mean? That's how I would put it. I wouldn't say the kid's being an annoying little pissant because first of all, you only hear the shouting. And as far as I could tell when I first heard it, I didn't think annoying or like pissant. I thought that kid's having a really good time in the other room, it sounds like.
Well, and you don't need to resort to name calling of the child either.
Right.
You can observe that the kid is being, loud or,
exuberant
or potentially interrupting his, Tom's thought pattern. You can observe that without then calling the kid like, oh, that kid's, you got the little kid who's being a brat in the other room and blah, blah, blah. You can just observe it. So bad word choice, bad way of describing the situation. But I do think if you allow, and let's be honest here, Tom Brady is the parent. So he made a choice to have his kid on or involved in the TV show.
Yeah, the theme of the show itself is about like the fact that Tom Brady is 40 years old and still playing and thinking about playing longer. It's literally Tom versus time. His age versus his love and desire to play the game of football. But there is a lot of family and friend elements. And it's not like it's documentary styled as opposed to reality styled, but you're still putting your kid in that.
The morning
you know what
show,
I mean?
The morning show we cut off, by the way, was Kirk and Callahan, not Dennis and Callahan. I dated myself because I haven't listened to WEI in years.
Yeah, it's been a while. But that's where we're at. Look, man, I'll put it to you this way, right? Does Alex Ramirez deserve backlash for what he said? Yes. He made a douche comment about a child. The same way that all the people who went after Trump's kid, do you remember, I think it was like shortly after the election, there was like a picture or a clip of Trump's kid, like the youngest?
Yeah.
And like so he got like ripped to shreds about it or something like that, and then people were defending him like, why are you going after his child?
Right.
You know what I mean? That I take that same defense here because it's a kid. The kid, while being subjected by the parent to the filming, doesn't really have a voice in whether or not they want to be there. And like you're going after a 5-year-old. They can't defend themselves. It's inappropriate. Like, it's wrong. Right. However, do I think this man deserves to become a social pariah, outcast, and like pretty much be done with his job? Maybe his career if he doesn't get picked up somewhere else? No. You don't know what it's like to be a radio host. I don't know what it's like to be a radio host, but I can understand fundamentally that if I'm on the radio and I don't have cameras, everything I say is coming from like a bulleted piece of paper that's like, hey, make sure you mention this, 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 and this. Here are your ad cue cards for your ad segments. Everything else you have to ad-lib. Sometimes you're going to fuck up.
Right. And I think where the confusion might be, I feel like, there's a real question with reality TV. Why is Tom Brady's daughter considered, quote unquote, a real human being who shouldn't be name called, but someone like Honey Boo Boo or people on like Duck Dynasty and stuff like that can be ridiculed and made fun of? What's the other one? With the boys.
The boys?
The kid got killed. I forget.
Holy shit! What?
There's reality. Reality TV is constantly mocked, and real people are made fun of or ridiculed or become memes on social media. So, but Tom Brady's daughter in a reality setting or documentary setting, where's the line is what I'm asking.
Yes.
Why is Honey Boo Boo a child who can be subjected to that kind of criticism and mockery, but Tom Brady's daughter, is called a pissant, and in one situation, oh, it's okay. Everybody makes fun of this person. Everyone makes fun of,
right.
Or everyone feels bad for Honey Boo Boo, or, whatever. But with Tom Brady's daughter, it's like, no. You cannot call her an annoying little pissant. And he shouldn't have, but I'm interested where that line exists. And why some people, namely Tom Brady's daughter, are valued above other people, in this case, other reality stars or people who just kind of become mockeries for whatever reason.
It's something. It's something. I'm concerned about the future of radio broadcasting. Because if stuff like this starts popping up more and more, there's going to be more and more censorship.
Well, there's always been controversy, and people have always said terrible things about other people and been fired or had to apologize. I'm looking now. I don't see that Reimer has offered an apology. My information might be wrong, but I'm still.
I haven't seen anywhere that
I
he's
specifically
apologized.
Googled Alex Reimer apology, and I haven't come across anything. He should apologize.
Save face a little bit.
He called a 5-year-old a name, and Brady is not happy about it, and you're suspended from the show. You should probably, at a minimum, apologize.
Yeah.
If you have apologized, I don't think you're listening, but if you have apologized, disregard my comments. Good job. If you haven't apologized, you need to apologize right now. This is a bad move all the way around.
Clock is ticking,
Nobody
fam.
feels bad for you. Don't make people hate you more.
Check your car before you turn it on.
Yes.
Best advice I can give you right now, buddy. Good luck out there. Some mean streets of Boston.
Anyway, moving on to our main topic.
Is the main topic.
So some of you guys might think this is political, but this is not political. This is more of a cultural observation.
Yes. Ooh, that sounds classy. We're on a classy show now. Can we get some low-key jazz music in the background for this segment? Donnie, get some low-key jazz music in the... What do you mean the soundboard is broken?
Who's Donnie?
Why are we paying him?
Jordan.
Why are we paying this guy if he's not gonna get your soundboard broken? I hired a professional.
So Jordan is yelling at my bookcase. That's what's going on right now. He's just pointing at the bookcase and calling it Donnie.
What you are ruining the illusion of production value. For all they knew, we hired a sound guy. And you fucked it up.
Breaking the fourth wall.
I'm gonna put. Hang on.
Shut up.
Go ahead with the story. I'm gonna
topic,
fix this. Give me a pen.
Our main topic is generalization, and really overgeneralization.
There's a generalization. You're an asshole.
In America. So what do we mean by generalization or overgeneralization? Especially in politics, especially in social issues, we have seen, probably over my lifetime, but I think getting worse, we've seen that it's becoming more and more commonplace for people to overgeneralize other groups of people. For instance, there's a commonly held belief out there that all homeless people are lazy, and if they didn't want to be homeless, they should just get a job, and they should stop abusing the welfare system, and they're homeless because they want to be homeless, and that's why. And this applies to all homeless people, and we shouldn't make exceptions. Some other groups. All police are violent or corrupt or abusive. And your coughing was really distracting.
I'm sorry. I'm back, by the way.
I'm offended. All police are violent, corrupt, or abusive. All liberals are snowflakes and lazy, and we just want to use the system. All conservatives are greedy and immoral and only care about money. All millennials are lazy and entitled. All Southerners are rednecks and stupid and watch NASCAR. All Pats fans are whiny bitches.
Well, hang on a second. That one's actually true. That's statistically proven.
And we're going to see it Sunday night. We're going to see it like in living color.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
And it's going to be glorious.
I'm not going to... Dude, I really shouldn't go to a Super Bowl party because, like, I am on record trash-talking the Pats and their fans. I'm gonna get stabbed.
No, you won't. You'll be okay.
All right.
Because lucky for you, all Pats fans are mostly liberals, and liberals are snowflakes who don't believe in murder. So you're okay.
They're just gonna force me out of their safe space.
Yeah.
Right, because all liberals have safe spaces, or need them rather.
Right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
You guys need to toughen up a little bit.
I don't even know what a safe space is. I think I do in theory.
I think it's an imaginary bubble that like protects you from bad words.
I think it could be a physical place too.
My safe space is...
Next week on the Coffee Milk Hour, safe spaces.
The hunt for the perfect one.
How to build one. Where to find one.
Oh, step-by-step tutorial?
How to decorate one.
Get the construction hats, team.
Check out our Pinterest board.
We're diving in. We're gonna build some safe spaces.
On your safe space. Binky, my cat, needs a safe space.
Oh, I can hear
She's meowing at the door. So we definitely we see it a lot in politics. We see it a lot to mischaracterize most of the time large groups of people to make a stronger point.
Right.
All immigrants are lazy criminal rapists.
Yes.
And I'm paraphrasing Donald Trump. But that's the kind of thinking that gets us in trouble because the first thing it does is it limits our ability to really think critically about an issue. So I've got two quotes here from a blog, IamEdward.com. Probably the most dangerous conclusions we develop by overgeneralizing take the form of limiting beliefs. These are beliefs that tell us various things cannot be done, they cannot happen, when in reality they can. So if we use immigration.
Yep.
All immigrants are lazy, criminal, rapists.
Again, paraphrasing somebody else, that is not a thought that we have.
So if you believe that generalization, if you've grown up, under the belief that immigrants are bad, immigrants are criminals, immigrants don't deserve to be here, you're not going to be able to really constructively think about a way to, okay, well, is there a path for immigration for these people or citizenship? Should they be here? Are they good people?
Right.
You may never ask yourself, well, maybe they're good people. You're not going to go the extra mile to better understand their circumstance, their situation. You're not going to allow yourself to see them as human beings. You will see a human who is an immigrant as the label immigrant or illegal immigrant. And it's not good for constructive debate. It's not good for moving forward socially as a country. It doesn't do anybody any good to think about Southerners as being all rednecks or all stupid when there's a lot of people in the South and they're not all rednecks And they're not all stupid.
They don't all watch NASCAR. Fun fact.
Right. I watch NASCAR. I'm neither Southern or a redneck. And there are people in Rhode Island who are rednecks and they don't even live in the South.
Well, it's because, so are you familiar with the backfire effect?
I am not.
So the backfire effect is a condition where information, let me see if I can pull this up here, because I'm not smart enough to know this off the top of my head.
Oh my God, he's reading stuff.
But listen, the backfire effect is this thing that happens in the brain where the same part of the brain that responds to a physical threat responds to an intellectual one. Specifically, things that are our core beliefs, I guess you could call them, right? So if you grow up, for example, going back to your immigration comments, if you grow up being taught that immigrants are lazy, that they're worthless, that they increase crime, that they're not good for our country. These are more than just generalizations, right?
Right.
You're generalizing an entire people, but you grow up, you absorb that information, you absorb that, and it becomes a generalization, or it turns from a generalization to a belief. So when someone in your later years tries to prevent you with factual information that says, no, that's not true, the backfire effect makes you angry. Because you're responding to an intellectual threat the same you would to a physical, and it's dangerous.
Right. To expound upon that, I'm in another quote from IamEdward.com. Our minds are so hungry for the impression of knowledge and certainty about our surrounding reality that we often form broad, sweeping conclusions based on little real experience or little relevant experience. This is particularly true when we're under the influence of strong negative emotions. So along those lines, if you're someone who grew up in a completely white community,
yes,
and you've never really, mingled or socialized or been friends with or had family members who are black, and someone in your family or some, social concept said all black people are lazy and dangerous,
right?
That opinion, that sweeping conclusion based on little or no real experience can become, like you said, a core belief. It can become something that we internalize, and it says particularly true when we're under the influence of strong negative emotions. So if you've ever felt, if you're a white person, you go to a city for the first time and you feel really out of place and everything's really unfamiliar,
that anxiety.
And you feel that anxiety feeds into that core belief because you've been told something negative about a group of people.
You're going to directly attribute it to, yes.
So when someone tells you, oh no, black people are not all terrible people who are criminals, or, immigrants aren't all criminals and rapists who don't deserve to be here, you're gonna reject it immediately.
Right.
You've lived your whole life thinking that, no, immigrants don't belong here, and black people, they're not like me, they're not like my family, and I've been told that they're different and they're dangerous. And because you have nothing to back it up either way,
right,
you're just going to stick with that belief. So these overgeneralizations, they're stopping us from seeing the world in its true light, and they're stopping us from making any progress. And I'm not just talking about political progress. I'm talking about when I'm talking with friends, either in real life or on Facebook, these overgeneralizations have become insurmountable barriers.
Yes.
Where I see someone and they hold these beliefs and I'm like, I don't know if I can continue to be friends with you because your belief seems immoral to me or my beliefs seem absurd to you. And, I think everyone is inclined to believe that they do have the relevant experience to back up those generalizations. So it's becoming problematic, not just politically, not just socially, but on a personal level.
No, I would agree entirely. I recently had an experience where I had to stop associating with someone. We were they made a post, and I commented on it with several questions in the hopes of sparking nothing more than a debate. You know what I mean? They weren't hostile, they weren't aggressive or anything like that. But the response I got was incredibly aggressive, very defensive based, very offensive. And after reading it a couple of times, it occurred to me, it was like, wow, this is what this is. It was my first time truly recognizing it since understanding what the backfire effect was. I was like, wow, they went from 0 to 900 in a second because I questioned something they truly, truly, truly believe with factual information to back it up.
Right.
I was like, so the only thing I could really do, there's like, I could feed into it, I could get aggressive, I could get defensive, and you know, what have you, or I can remove myself from the situation, as I chose to do, right? It's not a moral high ground story. It's this phenomenon, these generalizations that become these beliefs that we defend almost like with a level of bloodthirst, can cause ripples within humanity itself. We can't socially move forward. We can't culturally move forward when we have these things holding us back. It's a problem. We're all human beings. That is the number one fact on this planet that we live on. But even that fact becomes obscured behind limited information being bottlenecked into a generalization, which then becomes a belief, which then becomes hate.
Or, well, the attack of that belief can turn people to hate. And so here's what's interesting, right, is that we can go down this list and we can kind of disprove all of these. All homeless people are lazy. Well, I'd like to believe that we all know that that's not true. Plenty of homeless people are victims of circumstance, and they're homeless for a small period of time, and then they, you know, get their job, or they get their feet back underneath them, and then they go on to live, you know, normal, productive lives.
I was homeless for a year.
Yeah, right.
I'm a pretty normal, productive life.
Yeah,
pretty.
Yeah. So to say all homeless people are lazy, and then to either pass legislation or live your life thinking that all homeless people are that is dangerous, because it's not the reality. All police are violent, corrupt, or abusive. Well, I like to think, and I don't have the stats, but I like to think that most cops are in law enforcement because they value the law, and they value their communities, and they want to uphold law and order in their communities. But that doesn't mean that there's not violent, corrupt, abusive police officers out there. We just shouldn't be calling all police violent and abusive,
right?
Because they're all not guilty of those behaviors.
When you're trying to like overthrow an entire system, or like there have been instances where the lives of police officers, and I'm not, just, you know, to clarify, I'm not a part of a Blue Lives Matter or an Any Lives Matter movement of any kind. I don't have a label attached to it, but the truth is, officers' lives have become in a greater jeopardy outside of their standard line of duty simply because of the actions of a few bad cops. And I don't mean a few bad cops as in like diminishing the situation itself. I just mean comparatively, if you broke it down to a percentage, it would probably be a very low percentage of cops that like have been corrupt or dirty or, you know, unlawful themselves. The actions of the few should never reflect the ideals of the whole, because then these people become at risk and they're just trying to do their job.
Right. Well, it's like people say, there's truth to every stereotype, but the stereotype isn't the reality. So, you know, people might stereotype cops as being violent or corrupt, but that's not an accurate portrayal of the whole of all police officers. All liberals are snowflakes and lazy. Well, most liberals live in cities, and most cities have lots and lots of jobs, a lot of high-powered jobs.
Yep.
And there are senators and politicians who are liberal, and they've done very well. And they're professors. So, and you know, all conservatives are greedy and immoral. Well, a lot of conservatives have a lot of faith, whether it be religion-based or not, and they're generally good people, and they're fiscally conservative, and they're not greedy or immoral. Millennials are a larger generation than the baby boomers, so obviously we're not all lazy and entitled. We're in the workforce, we're earning a paycheck, we're contributing to society.
The country would literally be dead.
If we protested and like had a couple of couch days, like, see you later, economy. All Southerners are rednecks and stupid like NASCAR. You know, obviously there are Southerners who like hockey and not NASCAR, and they're not rednecks.
I have a few friends from the South from my service days who aren't fans of NASCAR.
So all women are emotional and incapable of like logical thought.
Yes,
you know?
all men are idiots.
It's like there are plenty of smart men.
All dogs go to heaven.
Some of the strongest people I've ever known in my life have been women, and they're not just emotional or inept. And like, so we can't reduce things to stereotypes. We can't overgeneralize, but we need to find a way to remove these barriers with these overgeneralizations. Like I said, and I believe there is truth to every stereotype. Okay. But we need to be aware. It is what I believe is our social responsibility to be aware of the fact that just because there is institutional racism in law enforcement does not mean that all cops are abusive and they might be part of that racist institution, but they are not necessarily out there enjoying the fact that they're arresting black people.
There are cops who are actively working against that institution.
Right. So
you know
we
what I
need
mean?
to be careful with the overgeneralization. We need to attack the issue and not the people.
Right.
And if people are clearly part of that issue, then you go after the individuals who are, perpetrating or, upholding these beliefs, within law enforcement, for instance. If there's a cop and he says, no, it is our law enforcement policy to arrest black people 8-2, black to white, then that person needs to be reviewed and fired. And if they're implementing racist policy,
right,
on writing or not, then that needs to be addressed. But we can't assume, that he represents all law enforcement. We can't assume that homeless people and laziness is really interesting to me because, like, what people want to go stand out on the corner for 10 hours a day in 20-degree weather in the hopes of getting a couple of bucks? Like, what sane human being is willing to put in that kind of effort?
Panhandlers make more money than minimum wage workers.
Listen, but again, I think it's a misconception, though, right? If you're a panhandler in New York City, maybe
yes, if you are panhandling off the Mount Hope Bridge, on the Portsmouth line, you're not making a ton of money to be justifying you in hypothermic conditions,
right? Sub
30 degrees, sub 25 today. It's dangerous.
So I guess my question is, what do we do? I'll be the first to say that I am having trouble considering really all Republicans to be moral human beings. And that's and that's a personal prejudice of mine, because after the election, after the things that were said about handicapped people or immigrants or black people, it's like, geez, how can you support those ideas? How do you support those generalizations? How can I better understand that viewpoint, and how can I have a productive conversation who tells me that all immigrants are bad people? How do we meet in the middle? How do we both get rid of those preconceived notions and these overgeneralized beliefs that we hold to see the reality of the world and actually be productive moving forward?
Are we capable of overcoming these beliefs we've been taught?
Yes.
For the sake of moving forward.
Yes.
So to date, we haven't been. America is a perfect example of it because every 4 to 8 years we go from one party to another, right? And the ideals of the country as a whole are the helm is turned over and the ship changes course. And we are going. It's a ping pong table, man. We go back and forth in different areas. So it feels like overall we're moving forward, but really we're just trading one step forward for another step back somewhere else.
Well, right, and I can't speak to the culture in other Western countries, other European countries, namely, but it does feel like Americans are particularly susceptible to this type of thinking and belief holding. We're the only country in the world no longer signed on to the Paris Agreement. We're the only country in the world who does not really openly acknowledge climate change.
Right.
We're the only country in the Western world that doesn't have Medicare for all, essentially. And the reason that we don't believe in climate change, the reason that, as a people, because I do, the reason that we don't have universal health providers is because generalizations have been allowed to perpetuate, saying, oh, well, climate change, it's not that much warmer and the temperature's that much more crazy. And you've got these, undercurrents of alternative facts that people buy into that prevent us from, catching up with the rest of the world. With universal health care, we, oh, well, yeah, it doesn't work in other countries and it doesn't do this. And, we don't want to have to, it's going to cost us so much more money and we're going to have to wait in line and all this other stuff. But every other Western country has it. So the reality is it's working for tons of other countries. No country is without issue, I'm sure. But America has countries in the private healthcare industry. So this is not just about...
Did you make this political?
No, because it's still about generalization.
Okay. I'm just making sure.
We're doing to climate change and healthcare and women's rights. We're doing the same thing with those issues that we do with homeless people and immigrants and millennials. No one is thinking anymore on the human level. I think that's what it comes down to. We're not thinking about like, well, how does that person feel? Well, how does it affect that person's life? When people think about homeless people, do people put themselves in their shoes and think, I don't want to stand outside in 20-degree weather for 8 hours?
Yeah.
I wouldn't ask anyone to do that. So it's insane to me that those people do. Are people thinking on that level? And are people then thinking on that level and applying those feelings to the generalization? Or are they just saying, oh, well, that's some people and that sucks, but most homeless people are abusing the system?
I think it's the latter. And I think that's the problem. Because you're constantly deferring it to the negative result as the negative response as opposed to the realistic response in anything. That's why it's such a dangerous psychological effect.
And I wonder, and as we close here, and this is just a little bit of conjecture, but I wonder, how much has the internet and social media emboldened this type of thinking, enabled this type of thinking? Because what is the internet, right? It's the depersonalization of communication. People can hide behind their keyboards. People can say whatever they want. People can treat other human beings terribly. They can say awful things to other human beings just because they're never going to see them in real life.
Right.
They're never going to have to face them face to face. They're never going to, have to hurl those same insults at another real human being.
You never have to see the response.
People talk to the ideas that are other people on the internet. And so you have this depersonalization. And I think if we are going to progress, we need to find a way in our everyday lives to understand that every issue, every label we have, there's a human life that is affected by that definition. And second, how do we personalize the internet? How do we make other people, people realize they are speaking to other human beings on the internet? Because I feel like as long as the internet is depersonalized, we're in trouble.
The internet's always going to be desensitized. The biggest factor that's going to go into this negative ball that is the internet, and I use the internet for everything, man. So I'm not trying to say, look, you can tailor your internet experience to what you want. My friends on Facebook are going to post shit that only I agree with. If I see enough stuff I disagree with, I'm either going to unfriend somebody or I'm going to unfollow their posts. You know what I mean? I can filter everything I don't believe out and reinforce the things I do believe with information that isn't necessarily true. It's not necessarily accurate. It's a dangerous thing, but it's a real thing. So I don't think we can personalize the internet. I don't think we can sensitize the internet. The internet is already a place for every negative comment that goes unchecked, there is a negative comment that is blown into national waters.
Why do you think it can't change? Well, I don't
think people
do you want it to change, and B, why don't you think it could change?
I think it would be helpful in general for it to change, but I don't think it could change because honestly, and this might just be the cynic in me, but the internet is a great place for people who have to be good people every day on the surface level to get out all of their negative emotions without any physical or emotional repercussions.
But that's what therapists are for.
But therapists cost money. The internet doesn't cost you shit outside of your bill. You know what I'm saying? I can pay $300 for a session with a therapist and tell them things I want to say to people, or I can say those things to complete strangers and not have to deal with their negative emotional response and not have to deal with the repercussions if they were to harm themselves as a result.
Right, but then that perpetuates the cycle that we're talking about today.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think it can be changed because there isn't enough incentive for most people to change it. Again, it's a cynical thing to say, and I understand that. I like to think that people generally are good people, but everybody has a breaking point. And if, the scenario is this: if I'm a guy and I go home and I've had a really shitty day and I just need to take it out on something, but I don't want to take it out on my friends, I don't want to take it out on my family, I'm going to find someone on the internet who I disagree with, and I'm going to fucking rip them apart because no matter how they react negatively to it, I don't have to deal with it. I can make my post on their shit, call them the worst thing in the planet, tell them to kill themselves, uncheck the notifications tab, and never see that post again. Done. Negative energy gone.
I'm very uncomfortable right now.
No, I know. And I'm not saying that, like, I don't do that. First off, I cannot clarify that enough. But...
Oh, because this whole time I was thinking, like, oh my God. He goes home and he does this.
No, I don't.
And
I don't. You know, I don't agree with it. But realistically, thinking about human beings in general and what we are as living creatures, would somebody want to give up one of their most anonymous outlets to vent their frustrations? I don't think so.
Well, I think that's pretty well covered. If you have any thoughts or opinions on how we can progress past the overgeneralization of topics, people, labels, or if you think that we're stuck here, if you think the internet can be, repersonalized, or if you think it should stay depersonalized, go ahead and comment on the episode. Let us know what you guys are thinking. We'll post some questions over the week and some polls to see where you guys are at, and get some engagement from you. To recap, Jordan has the Eagles 35.
Yep.
31
Yep.
over the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I have the Eagles 38-21 over the Eagles. The only overgeneralization that we mentioned today that's not an overgeneralization is that Pats fans are whiny bitches.
Oh my God.
We do
Way
not,
to become a martyr.
we do not apologize for the stance of this
We do
show.
not speak for we. I have something to clarify real quick.
Yes.
Earlier I said an overgeneralization was that all dogs go to heaven. All
Right.
dogs do go to heaven. They absolutely every single dog goes to heaven. Like doggy heaven. If there's a doggy heaven. If there's a you know what I'm
On next
saying?
week's episode, is there a doggy heaven? What does it look like? What kind of dogs are there?
Oh
And
my
what
God,
kind of
dude!
dogs are
All
not?
of the angelic puppers. It would be the greatest place in
Dogs
existence.
in heaven, written in the notes.
I like it.
And all Alaskans obviously are not at the level of Sarah Palin.
Do we need to disclaim every episode
we-
that we
we
say
apo-
something satirical? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not apologizing because I don't actually mean it. It's
No,
like,
but I don't. Alaskans, they're cool. Now, should Alaska apologize for Sarah Palin?
I think so.
Yes, but
Yeah.
are we going to hold you accountable for Sarah Palin?
Right.
No.
I don't blame the actions of the many on the action of the few. See, it's perfect. I'm not
Exactly.
overgeneralizing Alaska.
Perfect.
Progress.
Man, you have made progress.
It's been a good week, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the week. Shout out to us if you agree that the Eagles are going to win, and follow us if you're a Pats fan and they win. You can talk shit to us. How does that sound? It's a good trade.
It's a good trade.
All right, I like it.
So next week we've got dogs in heaven. We got some. We had mentioned some stuff earlier. We got a lot to talk about next week. It's going to be a great episode.
It's going to be a great episode. It's
It
gonna
may
be a
end
great
up being
year.
like Friday freestyle
my
style
goodness.
episode. So
With I did the thing. Donnie, play us out some outro music. We haven't fixed it yet. It's been like 20 minutes. This motherfucker. We need to talk, man. Can we get Jeff down here so we can have
I'm gonna
a
end this
meeting?
for everybody. This has been the Coffee Milk Hour. I'm Jerry.
We need a sound guy
He's
over here.
Puffy.
I'm Puffy. We need a
We're
Donnie.
out.
We need to have a conversation.